Majin Buu is an incredible character with amazing power and hacks and all kinds of abilities, so in this video we're covering two of his unique abilities that enabled him to break through the dimensional walls using his Kiai alone, and a whole lot more, so
stay tuned.
Just before we get started, if you haven't seen the other parts in this 7-part series on the Kiai, definitely go check them out after this video so you get all the background information on this amazing technique in Dragon Ball. Do you guys remember the time that Super Buu broke out of the Room of Spirit and Time, and also when Buuhan tried to rip the whole universe apart? Well, that's what we're explaining in this video. Let's start with Super Buu and the Room of Spirit and Time. This technique is referred to as opening a hole in the dimension. In the Daizenshuu 7 Special Attack Dictionary, it's described as a technique where they fire a great Kiai yell, distorting the dimension and opening a hole in it. Only people with extremely high battle ratings can use this. They used it to escape from the sealed Room of Spirit and Time. Yes, that's right guys. In order to stop Majin Buu, Piccolo destroyed the entrance to seal off the time dimension from the living world. However, Buu escaped by unknowingly raising his ki to the required level using the Kiai yell. After witnessing Buu perform it, Gotenks was able to imitate it, knowing by Buu's example the power needed to break through the dimensional wall, which was the equivalent of Super Saiyan 3. They projected their Kiai to a specific point, causing immense pressure and created a hole in dimensional walls, collapsing the barrier between the time dimension and the living world. The amazing thing is, Super Buu didn't even know it was possible. He just got so angry and Kiai's so well that he was able to raise the required power. Breaking through dimensions to reach the same timeline where the timeline events were happening is impressive and often underrated. Gotenks and Buu raised enough power to equate to the entire alternate dimension to actually warp the space round them, which, if not controlled, would cause the destruction of these other alternate dimensions. But you might ask, could Goku and Vegeta do this? Well, not just anyone can pull it off, as Daizenshuu 7 says you need to have an extremely high battle power. It doesn't indicate the minimum power needed for this dimensional breaking Kiai, but I expect you need to have at least Gotenks Super Saiyan 3 power level. Whether Goku could do this in the Buu arc is up for debate, but it's definitely plausible as he shook the whole earth when powering up. Goku and Vegeta in Super could definitely use this technique though, as they've grown hundreds of times stronger than a Super Saiyan 3. Another instance of the Kiai being used to break through the dimensions was in Dragon Ball Z episode 270, when Buuhan tried to rip the whole universe apart. Majin Buu used this type of technique again, but in a much more powerful degree, which was possible due to all the fusions he'd undergone. The technique is referred to as outside space in the Daizenshuu 7 Special Attack Dictionary, and it's listed directly underneath the opening a hole in dimension technique, which we just mentioned. The guide says Buu was causing universal distortions as a last resort against Vegito, with the same type of power that he used in the Room of Spirit and Time. I should mention that it's only found in episode 270, which was entitled A Fissure Between Dimensions, and it wasn't in the manga. Dende explained it like this: having forgotten himself in anger, the extreme power radiating from Majin Buu is causing the space surrounding him to warp. At this rate, the walls between dimensions will break down and other dimensions will rush through. Other dimensions include the time dimension, the Room of Spirit and Time, the Demon Realm, the World of Void from the Tournament of Power, probably, and all the Afterlife realms, and probably more than this as well. The anime showed how Buuhan was at a clear disadvantage, being completely overwhelmed by Vegito, which gradually built up his anger. With his anger overflowing, Buu was able to release his full power, resulting in warping all of Universe 7. Like in the Room of Spirit and Time, Buuhan was able to actually raise incredible power through sustaining a long-lasting Kiai through his anger overflowing. He literally didn't stop his Kiai, he kept yelling. At first, Vegito got excited when he sensed Buu's incredible energy, but when he saw the living world and other alternate dimensions being warped, he acknowledged the sudden danger. Vegito said, "If I don't stop him, this universe will be crushed by alternate dimensions." Buu was out of his mind and wasn't controlling his ki output at all, just like Broly in his legendary Super Saiyan state. And by the way, Buuhan didn't actually have ki control. because the manga shows he only used his eyes to fight and not ki sensing. It was proven when Buu surrounded himself in smoke but still got beat up, as Vegito could sense Buu's every movement without the need of seeing him. Vegito said, "You trap me with your eyes, so you can't follow my movements." After Vegito approached to attack Buu's outside space technique, Buuhan also utilised the Kiai to form a Kiai barrier around himself, like we talked about in part 3 in this series. After multiple Kiais, Vegito himself raised his ki enough to overwhelm the Kiai barrier with moderate effort and stopped Buu's attack. This Kiai barrier was far more advanced than the one Goku used against Jeice and Berta. Vegito dealt with Buu's technique quite easily, and this tells us that it wasn't perfected. Although Buuhan could raise incredible power, he wasn't capable of actually controlling it. The universe started splitting apart due to his ki being released in all directions without control. But all Buu had in his mind was getting rid of Vegito by any means necessary. Buu didn't even consider that he too could be destroyed by other dimensions rushing in. In addition, Buu was also overconfident of his power, as he didn't mitigate the possibility of Vegito trying to stop his technique. The only thing protecting Buu was the Kiai barrier, which is an effective shield, but other than that, Buu couldn't defend himself and he let his guard down. After Vegito broke through the Kiai barrier and knocked Buu off, Buu's ki was affected and the dimensional distortion stopped. Then Vegito acknowledged Buu's amazing power and told Buu to use that power in a head-on fight. Vegito could sense the outside space technique was worth his time because it could raise ridiculously high power and force even Vegito to power up his Super Saiyan form and take him seriously. But Buuhan wasn't able to harness this level of power like Vegito wanted. He didn't have adequate ki control to harness this power and direct it all at Vegito. Vegito observed the technique and seemed to realise it can be controlled, but Buu either decided not to control it so he could destroy the universe and Vegito with it, or because he was completely blinded by his anger. The angrier Buu gets, the stronger he becomes. According to Toriyama, even Majin Buu doesn't know the extent of his own power. When questioned how strong Majin Buu is, Toriyama replied, "The frightening thing about Majin Buu is his unknown, unfathomable power. Whether it's actually not that much or whether it's really stupendous, Majin Buu himself probably doesn't know the answer." Buuhan did know one thing though, his anger is one of the keys to his power, and he warned Vegito that getting him mad would be his downfall. Compared to the Room of Spirit and Time where Super Buu made one hole, here Buuhan was creating many holes in the dimensional walls, and the real danger was the other dimensions could then rush into the living reality and destroy the universe. Perhaps it's like this analogy. Buu had the power to break the wall of the dam holding back all the water, and it's actually the water that does the real damage, not the one that caused it. It doesn't necessarily mean Buuhan has universe level power, but you can argue the being that caused it to happen must have universal power because they can create these dimensional holes in the first place. Maybe the universe wouldn't be destroyed directly by Buu, but the power that is warping, destroying and affecting alternate dimensions is Buuhan itself. The universe probably has a limit of how many dimensions it can hold, but Buuhan was forcefully causing these dimensions to be inserted into one place, which potentially means he manipulated time completely, causing multiple timelines to merge. Does this mean that Goku and Vegeta could have used the outside space technique to break through the dimensional walls and escape the future in the Goku Black arc? That's a topic for another video, and it depends whether you believe that different timelines are actually different dimensions in Dragon Ball, existing parallel to each other but sealed off by dimensional walls. Definitely let me know if you'd like to see an in-depth discussion on that topic someday, guys, down in the comment section below. Oh, and by the way, in another video, I will be explaining how Jiren escaped Hit's time dimension cage by using the Kiai. But in the next video in this series on the Kiai, we'll be covering how the Kiai is used to heal people, which is the technique that Dende and Kibito use. So definitely also head down to the comment section below, let me know your thoughts on what we discussed today, and also if you missed it, check out part 3 in this series on the Kiai, and where we looked at the defensive uses of the Kiai, so definitely go check out that video, guys. Thanks guys for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please that like button and definitely subscribe to expand your knowledge of Dragon Ball and get coverage of Super. And lastly, check out the other videos of mine on the end screen and you're gonna help Universe 7 rank higher. Thanks, Kai.